The Indian Hill Foundation is proud to present Young Brave Award.
My name is Alexandra Shoney. I graduated in 2003. I was always a singer. My grandmother was a very fine singer herself, although never a professional. She was always singing, and she took care of me when I was a little kid, and it just kind of was in my blood, and we always sang in the house, and eventually we got to the point where we had to have a rule about no singing at the dinner table because I think everybody had had enough by about 5:30. By the age of 10, I was studying voice privately with a teacher named Carl Resnick, and he heard a quality in my voice that he knew was of a professional standard, and he also saw that I had the personality and the drive and the interest to sort of pursue that further. Of course, singing is a motor skill, like lots of other activities, like sports or learning to play an instrument that's outside of your body. And I was able to make those changes that needed to be made quickly. And then I had the intellectual curiosity about learning different languages and learning more complex music, learning the stories behind songs and the stories and putting myself into those stories. That just was always so fun and interesting to me that it never really occurred to me that I wouldn't want to do it. My time at Indian Hill was really formative for me as in a lot of ways. I had a lot of opportunities to perform. Some of my favorite ones were doing Lola and Damn Yankees, and my senior year I was Mabel in Pirates of Penzance. But what I really loved about the Indian Hill Theater program was I'm still friends with my friends from the Indian Hill Theater program. You know, they're my best friends, and we've been friends for 25 years. And we have all these funny shared memories of just the silly stuff that we would do and the things that we would say to each other that get each other pumped up. And even now, we had this thing that we called Shall We Wow, and that it was like, that was how we would get excited for the show. And now, you know, I'm a professional, I go and do this all the time, and it's still like, don't forget the Shall We Wow. Like, don't forget that extra like juice that gets you on stage, that, you know, it's the fun of doing it with your friends. When an opera singer is training, we're talking about a development that takes from puberty to about 35. So it's about 20 years of growth. It's a longer process than a lot of people understand. So I went to Northwestern after I finished here at Indian Hill. I did 4 years of a Bachelor of Music. Then I moved on to England. I went to the Royal Academy of Music, where I found sort of my core teacher for the next 10 years. I continued to study with her when I lived in London, and then for the next 7 years when I was doing my postgraduate training in the Netherlands, and then also 7 years where I was kind of running around and performing. And then finally, after that decade in Europe, I was kind of ready to come back to the United States. And I was exploring a lot of different options and was offered a place at CCM to do my doctorate. And so that's how I ended up back in Cincinnati in 2016. Since I came back and got my doctorate, I've been teaching at a variety of institutions. I've taught at University of Dayton, at Bucknell University in Pennsylvania, and I'm currently on faculty at Xavier University as a voice professor. Since I've moved back to Cincinnati, I've become also an arts entrepreneur. I have a production company with my colleague Trevor Kraker called Breath Collective, and we're interested in taking classical music and making it a more immersive, meaningful experience for folks, taking it out of the kind of hermetic seal of the concert hall and putting it in more avant-garde or creative environments. When I think about the community support here at Indian Hill for all aspects of student life, that investment that the community puts in is felt by the students. It lets us know that the things that we value are valued by our community. And it lets us know that anything is possible. I felt that as a student, and I feel it now. Thank you very much.
The Indian Hill Foundation is proud to present Brave Service Award.
Yeah, my name's Lyle Fiore. I spent 13 years here at Indian Hill, graduated in 1970. Okay, so one of my favorite teachers here, and there were many, was Jim Powers, who taught European history. He really instilled, I think, in all of us a sense of pride, not only in Indian Hill, but in each class that we took and how to study and really be an effective student. Because we all knew that he was involved in other things in the schools. You know, he volunteered his time after school, during school for, you know, the various classes and being their mentors, and he was always available to us to talk to. And it was really my mother who instilled in all the kids a sense of volunteerism. She volunteered in many different things, and she probably didn't realize at the time was that we were noticing. Myself, my brother, and my sister all spent time volunteering at some point or another, or still do. For all the parents out there, I will just say your kids do notice, and the grandparents, your grandkids do notice what you're doing. They may not say anything about it, but it will instill in them a sense of volunteerism too. So then it was 20 plus years of having the kids in, and now I've got the grandkids are in the district. It was during that time that I spent time on the booster board and also the Board of Education. One of the big things we did was built the new high school and had the bond levy during that period so that we could build this spectacular building here. And we also did some upgrades to the auditorium at the time. Actually, that project went crazy smooth. You wouldn't expect a $25 million project to go as smoothly as that went. But the board was involved. David Quattroni was the superintendent at the time, and he did a great job. We started the foundation shortly after that. The value of a public school foundation is that it allows us to raise money for larger projects like the Home of the Braves, a little bit outside the scope of the PTO or the boosters. That was really the idea, was to get large endowment built up over the years. And it took a long time to get the public awareness of the foundation and what they were doing, but we got there eventually, and we're able to do a project the size of the Home of the Braves. So the other great thing about the foundation is their ability to also raise and support some of the additional things that we have, like the digital arts room and all that goes on in there. I know we bought things for the chemistry lab, did the first round of laptops for the kids so that they could take them home with them. And just things like that wouldn't have been possible without the foundation, I don't think. So that philanthropic investment that all our parents have made in the district has really allowed us to become one of the finest districts in the country. Not just the state, not just the county, but in the country. So I spent years with Fifth Third, trust investments, finance, all that sort of thing, and would get asked onto the boards and to participate as their treasurer or, you know, on the finance committee. But actually I was coming on the board because I have so much fun doing this stuff. And I was thinking one of the best times I had was calling out times at one of the 5K races, because I got to see everybody go by and say hi to them or encourage them or whatever. And it's just a lot of fun to volunteer at stuff like that. And I just have a good time doing it. One of the things I think I'm most proud of is being involved with the foundation. They have moved it along long after me, but just getting it started and getting it off the ground and to see it continue to function so well and to support so many things that are going on here in the district. And that's really what I am proud of, that this district continues to just be spectacular. So what I would say to the graduating seniors is to think about how much volunteer time was given to them as they move through Indian Hill, and to take that with them as they move forward into the next chapters of their lives, and to pay that forward.
The Indian Hill Foundation is proud to present Distinguished Alumni Award.
My name's Brad Casper, and I'm a proud graduate of Indian Hill High School class of 1978. If someone would have said to me in the 70s that I would live most of my adult life outside of Cincinnati, and in fact outside the United States, I wouldn't have believed them. I really had an ideal childhood, surrounded in love by my mom, my dad, and my sister Amy. My dad was president of the Board of Education. My mom volunteered in Indian Hill schools for more than 16 years. And ultimately, I think they imprinted upon me the importance of being involved in K-12 education, and I've tried to continue that as I moved to Arizona later in my life. Indian Hill was a major platform for my personal and my professional growth. And I have to thank the educators and the administrators of that era, beginning with Bob West. Bob was not only my freshman basketball coach who led us to the EHL championship, but he was a champion in the classroom too. His love of written word, and particular poetry, really inspired me to be a better verbal communicator, and I can't thank Bob enough for how he impacted my life. The class of 1978 was very, very special, and I remain close to so many of our classmates, but one person in particular is very special, and that was Kay Sanders. This year, we will celebrate 40 years of marriage. We have 3 amazing adult children: Colton, who's married, Carly, who's engaged, and Brody, who just rediscovered his high school sweetie too. And all 3 of them live within a few miles of us here in Arizona. I couldn't be more blessed and more grateful. If I had to summarize my professional journey in a few words, I'd say this: my willingness to leave the comfort zone early in my career led to extraordinary, remarkable personal and professional growth. I accepted a position in the financial management program of General Electric right here in Evendale, Ohio. After 2.5 years, though, I knew it wasn't a great fit, so I jumped to Procter & Gamble in their brand management track. And that turned out to be an amazing 16.5-year career that led me all the way around the world, where I lived in Japan, Hong Kong, and China for 9.5 continuous years. During this journey, I never would have imagined that I would meet President Ronald Reagan in the Rose Garden. I'd drop a puck to start a hockey game between Team USA and the Russian Red Army. I dine with sumo wrestlers in Japan, and even beyond the Celebrity Apprentice with Donald Trump. Who'd have figured? In any case, after a career at Procter & Gamble, I jumped to become president of Church & Dwight, another consumer good company in Princeton, New Jersey. And then I got recruited to become the CEO of Dial in Scottsdale, Arizona in 2005. After working for 3 multinationals for the first 25 years of my life, I shifted to a more entrepreneurial track, and I've probably experienced more professional change in the last 12 years than I did in the first 25. During that time, I was executive chairman of a sports nutrition company in Dallas. I became president of the Phoenix Suns basketball team. I led a pet nutrition company out of Los Angeles. I joined an advertising agency that I helped scale to become on the Inc. 5000 list. And then I started my own firm, Heart and Soul Marketing, in the middle of the pandemic in October of 2020. In all honesty, my biggest learning from this wild ride that I've been on: be resilient. Pick yourself up when you get knocked down. Invest in continuous learning. Get involved when you can and where you can, because there's always something out there for you to make an impact on. Try to strive for not just a life of success, but a life of significance, because there's so much you can do with your skills. And I've discovered some of that later in my life. I'm very grateful for this recognition tonight, and grateful for everyone who's attending this event. I think it really reinforces the importance of people remaining involved in public education, because we can't take it for granted. And fortunately, Indian Hill does not. And so I'm very, very honored to be a part of this new community of alumni who have been recognized, and I am so grateful that Indian Hill continues to set a standard of excellence in education. Thank you very much.